Greetings, everyone. This is Peilin Lorenzo, your host, your coach, your friend. Today, I have another great guest, my good friend Peilin from one of my favorite countries in the world. Even though I haven't been, but I've heard only positives, and that's one of the next countries I will visit when I get back to Asia. Beautiful Taiwan, the pearl of Asia. And yeah, we connected. I would say 3-4 weeks ago on the serving circle. We had a
Yeah.
wonderful chat. Very fun chat. And as soon as I started talking to her, I said, I need to invite her for my podcast because she has such a powerful story and I love what she's doing. So a little bit about her. She's currently based in Indiana in the US. She helps women have a positive transition into menopause. She's been a health coach for the past 2 years, a holistic wellness on a holistic wellness path for the past 20 years. And and she's an already multi-published author. She has two of her own books, cookbooks, that she's published with a publisher in Taiwan on Taiwanese cuisine. So me being a big foodie and having lived in China and all that, so we had a good talk about food. So that's awesome. So yeah, and I really like her tagline, very short, very to the point. The Meno-Positive View. That's a great one, very intriguing. So we're gonna unpack all of that. So Peilin, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here, Peilin.
Pleasure's all mine. So as I told you before going live, the kinds of conversation I like to have on my podcast is to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So for people who don't know you, who's Peilin as a person, human being? We're gonna talk about your business in a little bit later, but as a person, as a human being, who's Peilin?
I'm a kind of person who is, always enjoy sharing with whatever I know. From the very beginning, I remember when I was a little child, I loved to be a teacher. I love to teach people whatever I know. And in those days, I was good with a lot of things. I was good with writing. I was good with sports.
Wow.
I was good with public speech. So I just, it's kind of my nature that I just want to tell people what I can do, maybe out of a little bit of the vanity as well. But that's kind of how I remember myself doing. And I loved to sing when I was little.
Wow.
I often would just go to a big crowd and start singing. And that's kind of a training from my father. Yeah, my father loved to show me off. So I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, my father would took me to a wedding banquet. And then eventually, the last thing I know, after a huge feast, I was standing on top of that banquet table, singing to the entire room of adults.
Now, do you have any videos of that?
Well, no, back in those days, unfortunately, no, but I know that my father did record quite a bit of tapes, those little tapes.
Yes.
But
cassettes,
unfortunately, I don't know where they are. We kind of just missed all that. But I remember those. It's a very vivid.
Are you doing the same thing with your own kids now?
Well, I wish I could. Yeah, I should, right?
Yeah. If you love singing, that's.
Well, life changes so much over the years.
I know.
That's just, for some reason, it's not in my focus right now, but I would love to have it back someday.
Absolutely. Now, that's amazing. Love that. Now, let me ask you now a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person. Ready?
Okay.
All right. What makes you happy?
What made me happy? To have a good feeling, getting up first thing in the morning, or just good night of sleep. That's very important to me.
Sure.
And also, like a day like this, spring, sunny day, makes me happy. So I think it's just little things, that add up to make me feel this is a good day. And that's what made me happy.
Beautiful. Now, what makes you smile?
What made me smile? To see my son's smile, to see him come home from school and say, Mom, I had a very good day. Things like this. What else? To see my client thrives. Well, we're not talking about business, but that's kind of yeah, it's my main focus these days. So, but that really is very great pleasure of mine these days.
Awesome. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches even higher. What brings your soul alive? What makes your heart sink?
Well, that's the part that I see that I can impact and affect people's life. That's the part that I feel that I've been called to help people. And that's the point where I see I do have a purpose in life. Because before then, it's all about me, right? Or me taking care of the people around me, the family members or that. But it doesn't really go any further until I started helping others and see the change in them. And because of that, my life continues to change with theirs. That's the part that I really feel, yeah, I'm hitting something there.
Absolutely love that, because, business is one of the most powerful quotes I remember. On my podcast, I've been blessed to have amazing people, but one of the people I will always remember is Mr. Paul Dunn, the co-founder of B1G1. Have you heard of B1G1?
Yes.
So I have been blessed to have both him and his partner, his wife, and his co-founder of the B1G1, Masami Sato, on the podcast. But Mr. Paul, he said one thing that I will always remember. He said, there are two types of companies out there, businesses, one that are standard and one that are stand out. You become stand out the moment your business is bigger than yourself, meaning bigger than money and profit, but about impact. Once you do that, then your company, your business becomes completely stand out, and you become the golden standard, and it's so much more fulfilling. So when you said that, that reminds me of that, and that's one thing that I always implement in my business, and I inspire. This is one of the purpose of my podcast, to inspire entrepreneurs to do the same thing, to take their businesses from being standard, focused on money, to being a standout, focused on impact.
Yeah. Well, I can clearly see that, on you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, let's take a look at the other side of the spectrum. What makes you sad and angry?
What made me sad? What made me sad is that when I see people kind of just give their power away, or out of either ignorance or being disguised. What made me sad is for myself that I cannot accomplish or fulfill my own desire or dream. And that's the part that really made me sad. And in my line of work, I specifically feel sad when the institution kind of intentionally draw people away from what they could do. And just by, like I said, those to me are kind of a disguise. So that people don't know that they do have the power to take care of themselves, their health. And that's the part that really pissed me off.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Absolutely. Now, what scares you?
Scares me?
Spiders?
Not much spiders, but snakes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, snakes. My son's favorite animal.
Wow.
Yeah, he I remember one year he asked for snake for a Christmas gift. I had to make I have to, say all the lines to tell him that Santa said no snakes in his bag.
That's funny. Awesome. What would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My superpower is that I'm very passionate in sharing what I know. And I really, I'm good in making people to see where they do have the control and power. So I empower them to see that part.
Beautiful. Love that. Now, let's talk about something that we both love, traveling. You like traveling, right?
I do, but unfortunately, I feel like I'm not traveling enough now, or
These
not just
days,
during the
yes.
pandemic. Yeah,
It's been difficult, but I can see that we're gonna be able to travel again pretty fast again. So
yeah,
tell us,
hopefully.
yes, what was your very first trip that you took?
Very first trip from, you mean
Any
from,
trip, anytime, whether as a kid, as an adult, whatever. You're the start of the show. You share whatever you want.
okay, the first trip, uh, I think the first trip I took overseas was from Taiwan to France,
Really?
to
Wow.
Paris. Yeah, I think it's in the 80s. And that was the first time I traveled, overseas. And
That
that's
was a
the
long
time that
flight.
it's a long flight. And the reason I chose it because I was learning the language. I was learning French language in
Wow.
à l'Alliance Française.
Wow. Magnifique.
So, and I really just, I was very excited to visit the country and hopefully see the culture and experience the language in the first hand. And I remember I went there with my sister.
Mm. So you went to Paris, I guess.
Yes, yes.
How long did you stay there?
About a week, I think,
Okay.
or less than probably 5 days.
So, you know, we all have this preconception ideas of places, but once we get there, we may be either disappointed, overwhelmed. So when you landed in Paris, were you overwhelmed or underwhelmed? Was that above your expectation? Was oh, is that Paris? I was expecting more. What was
It's
your
all excitement. I have to
okay?
tell you. It's all excitement. Everything was great. And, as long as I was able to, listen to people
Uh-huh.
speaking in France, and I was able to use my, to practice my French, it's all good. So I was very excited.
Was that during the summer or winter?
I think it's springtime,
Oh,
March. So
springtime.
it's still cold. I remember I was
Okay.
in those in a heavy jacket, but I have a vivid memory.
For me, I will never forget the first time that we landed in France. I was four, I think it was in June, and I had never seen that. You know, the very long days in Paris in June, July, August.
Oh yes,
You have the sun sets at 10 o'clock at night, and up to 11 o'clock it's daylight. I was like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
what's that? That's amazing. Even as a 4-year-old, I was like amazed.
I had a similar experience actually in that trip. I
Uh-huh.
remember we were on the subway, and
Okay.
it was 9 o'clock in the morning, but it's still dark outside.
Oh
It's
yes.
it's very different from my own living experience in Taiwan, right?
Because
So I
Taiwan
was
is in
like,
the
it's weird
tropics, and
that
it's
people,
the days are very
yes,
even. Yes, yes.
yeah. So they go, oh, it's weird that people, go to work in the dark.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, amazing. That's awesome. We can do an entire episode just on you talking about sharing your experience in Paris and France. But so, did you stay only in Paris, or did you also venture out of Paris?
That trip was only for Paris, but then
Okay.
later I went back a couple times, and then I was able to venture out.
Where
Yeah,
did you
but
go?
that trip. Well, then the next trip to France was when I was in honeymoon.
Mm.
So we landed in Paris, and then we went to southern France.
Which part? East or west?
I think southern west. It's Montpellier.
Montpellier is
Montpellier
east. Okay, okay.
east.
And
Oh,
Côte
east.
d'Azur. Okay, east. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yes, and then go to the southwest to Collioure. Collioure. I think it's
Okay.
at the borderline. It's a border village between France and Spain.
That's close to where I grew up.
Oh,
I
cool.
grew up in Pau, close to Bordeaux, close to the Spanish border and
Okay.
the French Basque Country.
Yeah, Perpignan is the
Perpignan, yes,
biggest city
Perpignan.
around
Yeah.
Collioure.
It's
Yeah.
close to Catalonia in Spain, just on
Yes,
it's
yes,
the
yes.
most southernest part of France. Yes, it's amazing. Next time you go to France, I would recommend go to the southwest, close to where Biarritz, Bayonne, Pau, is located. It's absolutely phenomenally beautiful there. People
Yeah.
are very nice and all that. Especially if you love history. The town I grew up in is the town of one of the most emblematic and loved kings of France, Henri IV, Henry IV. We still have his castle in downtown. We have like cobble street stones and the castle. There's no cars allowed. It's like with horses and carriages going out. Now it's more for tourists, obviously, because nobody uses that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But it's still almost like going back in time.
Wow. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow.
I never get tired of going back to France,
Oh,
any part of
absolutely.
France.
But what I would
Yeah.
recommend now to people is yes, Paris is beautiful, but Paris is not France. Go any direction outside of Paris. That's where you will see the real France. The French people,
Mhm.
the people will be so much more friendlier and nicer, and you will have a much more authentic French experience than Paris because Paris is just overrun with tourists, and nowadays Paris can be a little bit
Yeah.
not I wouldn't say dangerous, but a bit risky. But
No, you remind me one thing. The first time when I went to France, because I was speaking a little bit of French, right? So I thought that people were very friendly to me. But then the second time I realized because I lost a lot of my French speaking ability. So a lot of time I have to use English. And I realized that's when
don't
I
like
see
that.
people, yeah, they don't like that. And then they suddenly become a very I wouldn't say
Cold.
I'm friendly, but they really don't care about too much.
The cold. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's quite the thing in Paris. But outside of Paris, yes, people will speak less English, but they will be much more friendly. As long as they see you're friendly and you make an effort,
Yeah.
they will do their best to help you. Oh, yeah.
Well, I do have beautiful, beautiful experiences
Oh, yes.
in the Provence, in the
Oh,
region
yes. Oh,
overall.
yes.
Yeah.
Provence is
So that's
beautiful.
where my, one of the destinations for my honeymoon. And then we went
Wow.
back there almost 20 years later. Yeah. And it's still beautiful and everything.
Magical. Yes, it is magical. Absolutely. Wow. Amazing. Now, let me take you down another type of traveling down memory line. Go back to when you were a young girl growing up. You know, when we're kids, people around us, parents, teachers, neighbors, even, or maybe, relatives always ask us, so Peilin, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer as a young girl?
Oh, you know what? That part I've been very, very clear from very early on. For some reason,
Singer?
I wanted to be journalist.
Wow.
When I was a great kid, and then at middle school, I was pretty sure, and then it never really changed. That's the only thing that I wanted to be, and I eventually became one. So I went to journalism school and graduated and being a journalist after that. So it's pretty, simple, straight journey for me.
Wow. Why journalism? Did you have someone in the family that was journalist and inspired you, or you just
You
just
are
you liked it?
right. Yeah. So my father had this friend who is a journalist,
Okay.
and he came around. He came to our my parents' apartment all the time, and they talked about things. And as a young girl, for some reason, I sometimes overheard what they're talking about, and I felt that wow, this person has such a big power and influence, on things, on people,
Yes.
because I grew up in a small town where journalists back in those days, I'm talking about in the 70s,
Hmm.
um, they do have a lot of control or influence on either the local politics or the local business, all kinds of those kind of stuff. And
Wow.
for some reason, I was fascinated by it. And I always thought, wow, so I want to be that person too, person of importance.
So
That's how
you were after power. Okay. That's awesome.
yeah, I don't know why. I was kind of fascinated by it.
So once you became a journalist, did just like I said, I asked about what the travel in France. Were you overwhelmed? Were you underwhelmed, or were you happy to be there?
I was happy, but then of
Mhm.
course, when I became a journalist, I had a very different understanding,
Sure.
with what the true meaning of that job
Hmm.
compared to how I was perceiving when I was little.
Sure.
And so this is the time that I really thrived. I saw myself grow. but in the more positive way. I know that I can use the influence in a very positive way to bring about the change in the society, for the country. And so I really enjoy doing it, but it was a very stressful career, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Now, let's state when you were a kid, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school? Did you hate school?
I think I overall loved school because I was doing so well at school. I was kind of over the place. I was put in the leadership for a lot of things. If there's anything that would represent the school, for a contest of so many different kinds, I was always there. So I think I was very flattered that way, and feel good about myself because of that, gaining a lot of confidence because of that.
So were you very active in student life and association clubs, even running for to be the representative of the students at school?
Not necessarily representing the school body, I mean the student body in the school, but I'm talking about, for example, if there is a contest of public speech or a school play touring the town, or the sports event, of course, like annual sports event. I was an athlete since very early age, so I was always part of the team to represent the school. And I was doing very well too academically. And I always got those what do they call that?
Certificates, yeah.
Yeah, the
Awards.
trophy.
Awards, okay.
So the school life has been pretty good for me, I think, growing up.
Awesome. What was your favorite subject in school?
Back then, English, I think. English. Yeah.
Did you like more the speaking or the writing, the reading?
I think it's the speaking part, but we didn't really do much of the speaking. But I'm talking about middle school. We started learning English in middle school, and that's when I was really fascinated with the Hollywood movies, or the song, the top 100 hit song in the US. And I need English. I need to know some English in order to appreciate those culture. And I think that's why I was fascinated with English, not necessarily on the learning part, because in Taiwan, the educational system there was more like, helping you get the high score. So you might learn all the grammars and you get good score from the test, but not much speaking at all. All the speaking part come from me being in contact with those, movies, Hollywood movies, or learning songs, pop songs.
That's how I learned my languages too, through music and through sports. I was watching, football and all that. So yeah, I can relate to that. Now, what would you say was the one subject you did not like at all in school?
It would be physics and chemical. Well, in our school system, these two are kind of put together. At
Physics
least
and chemistry. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I just don't have that brain, the logical brain.
I'm same here. Yeah, awesome. You mentioned that you were an athlete. What sports did you play?
Well, I was in the basketball team, I was in volleyball team, and I was in track and field team.
Wow.
So I did 100 100-meter hurdle.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned also basketball and volleyball. So were you tall when you were a teen?
No, I wasn't tall. I'm not tall still.
Okay.
So I was the one who is playing the, in basketball
Playmaker?
term. The
point guard,
person who can control the ball at.
The point guard, the playmaker. Okay, wow.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Yes.
Beautiful. Now, what was your very first job?
Very first job out of college, I was a staff writer in a magazine in Taiwan.
Wow.
It's a fashion magazine, international fashion magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was very different from all the journalistic training I received in college, but still it's something, to start me off on the career. And now look back, I thought I really appreciate it. It's a very different aspect of reporting, but interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Awesome. When did you leave Taiwan?
I left Taiwan I came to the States for a graduate study in
Okay.
1996. So I was away for a couple years when I was here studying. And then I went back to Taiwan to resume my reporting career and then came back again in 1999. So I think 1999, yeah, was the year that I really left Taiwan.
So you mentioned that you loved learning French. Why not choose France instead of the US?
Well, because my husband was here already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, after we've been apart for a year or so, I thought that's not a good idea to manage
Sure.
marriage that way.
Mhm.
So I decided to quit my career in Taiwan and just move to the US.
Absolutely. All right, let's move. That's awesome. Now let's move forward now. There's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. The story we tell ourselves inside our head. So when you're Peilin had to change your story to either change your life or bring your life to where you want it to be, how did you do it? Did you do it through the help of friends, family, mentors, books, videos? Tell us a process that you used to change your story at a time in your life in order to change your life.
I think I changed my life based on my personal experience, personal
Mhm.
journey, because things happened in my life and then I have to go through them. And eventually they became part of my story.
Oh my God.
And a lot of times it's not because I read something, I decided to change my story. No, it's because things already happened in my own life. And I kind of had to go along with it.
You
And
know,
I'm saying that in a very positive way and empowering
yeah.
way. Um,
When you said that, I really resonated with that because that's one of the lessons I learned over the past 2 years. But also, I always keep on saying that, we all have had our fair share of dark times, tough times, strategies. Sure, at the time, they're very difficult to go through, but eventually we go through, and then they are meant for us to grow, to go to the next level as a person and
yes.
our evolution in life. And then, just like you said perfectly,
Yeah.
those become our story, and that story then becomes our gift. Our gift then becomes
Mhm.
our message and our responsibility to share it with the world, because one of the main purposes we are here, at least as far as I understand, especially since I had my spiritual awakening over the past 2 years, is that we don't come here just for nothing, just roaming around just aimlessly. We come here to learn lessons and then share those lessons with others so that together we can rise as a species and as a
Yeah.
planet. So when
Yeah.
you said that, I said, wow, you're
Yeah.
really speaking my language now.
So when you said that, why not, France, but US, and now at this point, I just reflect on what you said. Really, if I did choose to go to France instead of here, my life would be totally different,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
But at this point now, looking back, I realize there's so much happened in my life and so much lesson,
Totally.
and not everything is all pleasant, and most of them are very unpleasant. But because of that, I've grown and to be who I am today, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Absolutely.
I had really, I had gone through tough things in life, tragedy in life, and I've lost a child and dealing with a very difficult situation. But that became really what nurtures me. And if you ask me, um, I certainly would say that it's not pleasant thing to go through, and I prefer not to go through it if I had the choice. But since we cannot change things, I really, appreciate that experience. That made me stronger. So at the end, it's worth it.
Totally. You mentioned that, and that's something also one of the lessons I learned since my spiritual awakening is that, when something bad happens to us, the previous version of me before my spiritual awakening was always, I understood the power of asking questions because questions can be very powerful. Before, when something bad happened to me, I would say, why me? Why did I do to deserve this? Why? And play the victim.
Right,
But
exactly.
then
Yeah.
now, from a spiritual perspective, I take a different look. I say, what is this trying to teach me? What is a lesson for me to
Yes.
learn from this experience? When you
Yes.
see things from this perspective, from this lens, then you understand even the darkest of times, the most tragic of tragedies, they are a beautiful gift to learn a lesson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we always say there's a difference between life happened for us
Oh yes.
and life happened to us. It's a very different attitude, and
Mhm.
it actually really, it's the difference between empowering and disempowering,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Life doesn't happen to us; it happens for us, for our benefit, for our growth. For our
Mhm.
next stage. Yes. Even though at the time it can be really, hard and challenging and difficult, but you know, God never gives us any obstacles that we're not capable of overcoming.
Exactly.
You know.
Totally agree. Yeah,
So
totally
wow,
agree.
beautiful. Love that. Now let's move forward. Let's talk about your business and tell us about the impact you're having on the world right now.
Well, I help women 40 years and above with metabolic challenges and burnout or hormonal imbalances to regain the control of their body and health so that they can have a positive influence to the world. And, and by working with this particular group of women, I found that really, as you said, I am impacting the world in a way because this particular group of women at this point of their life, well, that's including me actually. I'm in this group. So our life kind of sandwiched between a growing kids and aging parents. And career-wise, we are at the point where we assume way more responsibility, and probably some people are choosing to change their career path. So either way, from life or from career, we are at the junction point where we really have a lot of stress in our life. But at the same time, the society's expectation from this particular group of women hasn't really lessened, you know. So I feel that this particular group of women really had a lot to deal with. On top of that, they're dealing with the physical change because of the age, right? This is a time when the hormonal turmoil really going on. So that's why I chose to help this particular group of women, because I myself had gone through the same process and I survived from it. I found a way to come out and still being able to thrive at this age. And I would like other women to know that too. They do have the capacity and the power to do that too, to achieve the same thing.
Love that. Tell us about the structure of your program. Is it one-on-one? Is it small groups, big groups? Is it videos? Is it a course? Is it a challenge?
So far I only do one-on-one coaching, but I am on the way to hopefully expanding into an online group coaching. So that's kind of been what I've been occupied with recently.
Good. Now, one of the challenges I noticed in the coaching industry from coaches is that most of them, they try to help everybody with all of their issues, and I get it, they're coming from a good place because they have good heart, good intentions. But unfortunately, only God can help everyone with all of the issues, and me and you are not God. So what we need to do instead is focus on one specific person and one
Mhm.
specific pain point. And that's something that I see a lot of coaches struggling and not getting the results because they want to help everyone with all of the issues with their money, relationship, health, fitness, spirituality. I mean, that's beautiful. But
Yeah.
again, it's way too much. It's not something that only God can do. So, but for you, I like the fact that you're helping, women over 40. Now, the question I have for you: what was your? Do you have a specific avatar? Do you help specifically Asian women or any woman over the age of 40?
Yeah, so far, just any woman over 40,
Okay.
or to be honest with you, there are people coming to me outside of this age group and I accept them anyway. But when I do the marketing, I really would like to help this particular group of women the most. And so, again, it's out of my own personal experience because I was there. Those people those women who struggle that I'm helping now, I was one of them just a couple years ago. So I think that's become my specialty right there.
Okay. Have you considered, for example, focusing solely on successful Asian women in the Western countries over the age of 40? Because that would be a very specific niche that
Yes.
when an Asian woman over 40 sees you, to say, because the point is you want your avatar, your ideal client, when he or she sees, in your case, when she sees you, she sees your message or hears it or listens to it, they can really resonate with it. They can see, oh, that's me. She knows my problem. She knows my issues. She speaks my language. I think for you, it would be a very, very powerful for you to focus specifically. Sure, you can help every woman over 40, but if you were to specialize, because the name of the game is specialization, the surgeon is getting paid a lot more than just general practitioner, and the same
Yes,
thing in every industry.
I
So
agree.
if you were to focus on Asian women, say in the US, Canada, or just in the Western world,
Yeah.
over the age of 40, that would be something phenomenal. And you can really easily, well, maybe not easily, but quite efficiently and a lot easier than if you were to help every woman to
Yeah.
really become, because the point of, and one of the things I really emphasize on my academy, on my podcast, what is the point of starting a podcast? Not just to talk to people, but to elevate yourself from being just another whatever you are to being the expert, the authority, the leader. And for
Mhm.
you, if you were to specialize in helping Asian women over 40, you would become, it would be a lot easier for you to become the expert to go to for all of these Asian women.
I agree. I agree with you. Interesting enough, because of my background and all my, social circles, I naturally only get, Asian women. So now all my clients are pretty much all Asians, specifically Chinese. And then I only have a couple American clients, but the rest of them are all Chinese or Asian. But, I don't really limited myself to Chinese who lives in the US or lives in, so I ended up having all my clients all over the place. I have clients from New Zealand, I have clients from Australia, from Germany, from Taiwan. So it's just naturally happened this way. But I totally agree what you said. If I can narrow it down, and to me, I didn't even do that, and then it's kind of naturally happened that way already.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about business, because we have those preconceived, ideas. Okay, I want to help these people. For example, when I started my business, I wanted to help men over the age of 35 that are entrepreneur, that are very active, very independent. But then once I started getting clients, I realized that 90% of my clients are women. You know, and that's a data that you get from the marketplace. That is the most valuable data, because we can have an idea, but
Yeah,
then the data we get from actual paying clients will be completely different. So
yeah,
for you, you mentioned that you want to help everyone, but then you notice that most of your clients also attract Asian women. So that's something that
yeah.
maybe it would be good for you to really pay attention to that data and focus on that data, because again, the point of the game is when your ideal client sees you, hears you, reads your message, they will not say, oh, just another marketing background noise. No, instead they say, oh, you want your message to be very magnetic. He sees your message, oh my God, she understands me. She speaks my language. This is exactly what I am. And to achieve that, we need to focus on the specific person that is the closest to us. Like you being an Asian woman over 40 and highly educated, successful, that and you overcame the problem that you are. That to me It's obvious. This is the this would be the ideal avatar for you. But again,
Yes. Yes.
what matters is the feedback, the data we're getting from the business world, from our clients.
I absolutely agree with you. And I have to be honest with you, that is in my mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because just starting coaching only for a couple years,
Okay.
I feel like I'm not very comfortable at that point yet. But I do know that at some point, in my business, I really need to kind of just, focus in even more, just narrow down to a specific group of people. And you see that. Yeah,
We
amazing.
notice that the soonest we specialize, the better we will be able to attract our ideal clients, and the better we're going to be able to establish ourselves as a leader. Because ultimately, you want to become the leader, the expert, the authority in your field. And
I have to,
and
sorry.
sometimes we need to have a fresh outlook, someone that is unbiased to tell us, because we take our qualities and what we know we're capable of for granted, because for us it's nothing special. It's it's like second nature. But when someone that is unbiased and objective will say, hey, this is amazing, this is your, just like in Saint-Exupéry's Le Petit Prince, the classic book. The guy went around the world looking for his happiness, while his happiness was under his nose right here all the time. So the point is, we should not, underappreciate or undervalue our own qualities. And I've made that mistake myself quite a lot, because again, for me, it was nothing special. It was just natural. It's who I am.
Yeah.
But when others saw it to me, hey, this is what, just like I told you earlier, the changing my messaging from helping you find your voice, helping you finding your ideal clients with zero ad spend. To me, I didn't realize it because it was natural, nothing special. But when someone else showed it to me and pinpointed to me, I said, wow, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, this business thing really just has brought up a lot of mindset challenges.
Absolutely.
So to me, the initial struggle or the debate point was that, but I want to be able to help as many people as possible. If I only, service high ticket clients, then a lot of people, my friends, and, I have a fan page, the Chinese fan page that with 3,500 people in it. And it's like, I cannot even serve them, things like this. So I am kind of gradually moving on to really refining the niche for my business. But I have to tell you, it's a lot of time it's about mindset. I have to be willing to move up and then feel comfortable about it before I can roll it out.
Yeah. It's going to be a journey. It's part of the journey for you to really see, because again, we might have ideas we want to work with, but the one that really matters is the feedback we're getting from the marketplace, the people that are voting with a wallet, with a credit card and all of that's the one that matters. And pay attention to that data. If you see, just like me, initially I wanted to help men, but then I saw 90% of my clients are women. So, oh, I have a problem here. Maybe I should refocus my things, So I love working with women and I love working with men too, but I need to look at the data that I'm getting from the market. So now I'm refocusing my message to appeal more toward women, while not ignoring the men, but still, I'm going more towards helping women now, because that's what the market is taking me. So you need to be pay attention to that.
I can see you do have this, particular feminine energy in you, and that makes sense. They would attract, women than
Maybe
men.
I was always
That's a great thing.
I always was very, it was very easy for me to have a lot of female friends, because I can connect with people. I love to have deep conversations. While still me, I was very athletic, very, very in sports. So I also had a lot of male friends as well. So I'm comfortable with both. So yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. Let's move forward now. Tell us, how are you getting your clients? Do you have a marketing game plan or just word of mouth?
The first years is all through personal connection. And then recently, since last year, 2021, I started venturing out in social media, specifically Clubhouse.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I was able to gradually, building up my credential expertise just through all the different topics that I do there every week. And so now people started trusting me and they come to me. But also because I used to be a cooking instructor locally.
Ah,
So I do have a small email list that I occasionally send out information, and I got some clients through those lists too. So basically, those people are used to come to my cooking classes.
that gave me another idea while you were talking about cooking. That could be, I don't know, could just thinking out loud for you. Starting initially just for fun, and then eventually that can turn into a business, big business.
Mhm.
First, a YouTube channel showing people how to cook traditional Taiwanese dishes. And then
I
eventually,
don't actually, I'm sorry, I don't actually do a Taiwanese traditional dishes,
okay,
the book, because I am an advocate for a local food. I'm a locavore. So most dishes that I make in my cookbook are using local ingredients, although there can be a Chinese or Taiwanese flavor,
mm,
but I wouldn't say that it's traditional Chinese dishes.
okay. So
Yeah.
whatever style of and dishes you're doing, first you can start, a YouTube channel just showing cooking, just what you're doing in a fun way, and then organizing retreats, classes, first online, and then once we can get back to a normal way of living in
Mhm.
person and charging money, that can become a quite a nice business as well, and
I like
eventually
that.
even pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I really would like to get back to cooking in some time. I mean, health coaching is I'm passionate about it, and I see how I can impact people. But at the same time, that cooking is my passion too, in terms of fulfilling my heart.
I can see the
I
passion.
enjoy
You became
doing it.
alive when you talk. One thing you can easily combine the two in your coaching, especially when you're talking about diet and health. Teach them how to cook healthy traditional foods. Women would and men would love that. That could
Mhm.
be an extra workshop, an extra beautiful upsell, first online workshop. I don't know, $100,
Yes.
$200 per person per month. Before you know it, you will have quite a lot of people, and that's going to be a pretty big business too.
Yeah, yeah. It's in the plan. It's in the
Good.
plan.
Keep me
Yeah.
posted on
Thank
that
you.
because I'm a foodie. I love learning to cook and exploring and discovering new dishes.
Yeah. So I will
Awesome.
have a online cooking school.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Peilin's online cooking school. That would be a beautiful name.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Now tell us, share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
Okay. So I'm currently working with this elder lady.
Mhm,
She's in her mid 70s, and she has been a diabetic for
mhm,
decades. She's been on the diabetic drug for 28 years.
mhm.
And so she was very frustrated because she simply, just didn't feel well overall. And she came to me asking for help. And I started just, after 2 sessions of consultation, her blood sugar has never been that good in decades. And turned out that because, the conventional doctor, they have very different way of managing diabetes. And she thought that this is going to be her life for the rest of her life, right? Just taking the meds and then just deal with the whatever, or the brain fog, or just overall not happy. But then, like I said, I think after 2 months, her insulin dose cut down to half.
Wow.
And I've seen huge difference in her. She now is more energetic. She used to have no energy at all during the day, and she was still, although retired, she's a musician, so she's still teaching part time. She said just no energy whatsoever, and now she's have a very bright outlook to her life. She thought that, wow, she can do this and she can still contribute, because before she was like, she's on over a dozen of meds, and there's no way she can function properly during
Sure.
the day. And this is, I mean, this is still an ongoing case, but I think it's pretty dramatic. The
Wow.
others, we see transformation. I see transformation. I mean, it's almost inevitable in terms of transformation, as long as the clients really are cooperating, following the instructions and doing all the works. Transformation is inevitable, but it's just for this particular case, because of her age and because of all the limitations that she thought associated with her age, and turned out that she can be, so much more than what she expected.
Absolutely.
That's something I feel very rewarded too.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, the greatest reward in any business is a transformation. For me, two things. One, the transformation you see in your clients, and two, the friendships you build in the process. Much, 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 much more than the money. The money for me is not, sure, it's nice, but the main thing is, one, the transformation and the friendships.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
So let's talk now about causes, because this is a theme of this podcast. What would you say is a cause for you that you're deeply passionate about?
The causes?
Yes,
of my business.
For you in person, as in your life, what cause are you really passionate about?
To change people's life. And I can see what I am doing now does have that capacity to achieve this. And yeah, that's amazing when that happens.
Love that. Amazing. Now, I love talking to you. It was very fun to talk to, and amazing, story, journey, mission. But let's start wrapping this up. Let me, to finish, ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Again. Okay.
All right. Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be easy. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received so far?
Best advice. Surrender. Surrender. When in doubt, just surrender.
To who? To what?
To the higher self, to the God, to the universe, because I believe that there's a power beyond our physical body that's always there. So once I surrender, I can really tap into that power and the solution of service.
You mentioned surrender. Surrender is the theme, sacred surrender, the theme of a book project I'm part of right now with my good friend, Mary Gooden. I don't know if you know her. She's a publisher. She's also one of the alumni of the first class from my podcasting challenge. And for the current book project she has, it's called Sacred Surrender, people sharing the surrender experiences. And I'm also part of that. I will also share my story, and that's going to go live. It's going to become published on April 1st. So super excited about that. So
yeah,
that reminded me of that. And if you want, I can connect you with her. She's really wonderful person, and maybe you can work with her and help you bring your story.
Is she also in the servant circle, or?
I believe so, but she's really busy. She doesn't have time for that because she has her own publishing house, and then she has her podcast now as well. So, but yeah, she's a wonderful lady. I will connect you with her after that if you want. You guys will get along like firecrackers. She's amazing.
All right.
Awesome. Now, what's the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
Worst advice.
Other than get a job.
Cannot come up with anything, actually. Because I think that everything happened for a reason. And there's a lesson behind it. So I wouldn't say is there any bad advice, because every advice, even with, come with the difficult challenges, eventually it's all good.
That's a great way of putting it. Awesome. Now imagine that you were blessed with a time machine. You can go back in time. You can sit face to face right now with the 18-year-old Peilin. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
You're doing great. Just be yourself, and you are courageous.
Love that. Now, I know you don't have your podcast yet, but imagine you add your podcast and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. So you're interviewing yourself. What's the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What's the first question that comes to your mind?
What's the reason you want to do the podcast?
And what's your answer?
I want to be able to connect with people from different area of specialties so that I can learn from them.
That's a great, fantastic reason. Awesome. Now, my favorite question to ask, and the last question I will ask you today is, what is the smallest thing you've done in your life that has had the biggest positive impact in both your life and your business? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done that has had the greatest impact. For me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you?
For me, is to reading a specific books that changed my life and changed the course.
What book would come to mind?
It's a book. It's called Journey of Souls by...
I read it too. I love it.
Okay.
Dr. Brian Weiss?
Well, no, but it's along the same way, same line. It's Michael Newton. Michael Newton.
Yes. Sorry, I was confusing the two. Yes. I swear to you, I have that book. That's the first book I read in my spiritual awakening. I love that.
Yeah. So that's really the book that really just, changed my life.
Yes.
I was deeply embedded in grief of, having lost a child. And that's how I really found the strength to continue, move on with life. And that really helped relieve my grief big time.
How did you find this book? Did someone recommend it to you? Yes. Or you just found it?
A friend back in college who lives in Paris sent me the book.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. See, everything happens for a reason and at the right time.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love that book. Absolutely. If that book should be mandatory reading. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I just sent out that book to my diabetes clients because she has recently lost her husband. So she's been in a grieving process too. And I would like her to get better. And she told me that she enjoyed reading that book so much. It really offers solace.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Once you understand that, hey, once this life is over, it's not game over. It's just a transition. Just like at night when you go to bed, you retire. In the morning, you wake up, you have a brand new day ahead of you. Same thing here. Once this life is over, you get a new one, brand fresh new one. We have all had, thousands of past lives and thousands of future lives we all will have. So once you understand that, you become in a way almost untouchable, invincible. Nothing can, at least for me, nothing can stress me. Someone tells me, oh, I'm going to cancel my program with you. I'm going to fire you, whatever. So go ahead, whatever. I don't care. I don't get affected. I don't get stressed.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
They can email me at peilin@innatewisdomcoach.com. So my business name is Innate Wisdom Coaching. So that would be peilin@innatewisdomcoach.com.
All right. I will put all of that in the show notes. And one last question. Do you have any tips for me to improve my podcast?
You're doing great already. I mean, this is the most fun and relaxing podcast I've done so far.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I think this is great. I know that there's some point that I feel that I didn't really give out a fun answer, as fun as I hoped. But I think, overall, I like that progression. It's just like a very relaxing way of doing podcast.
This is what I told you. This is what we do. We have a friendly, heart-to-heart, organic conversation. It's not an interrogation. And when you and I tell the same tip to my students, when you start your podcast, sure, you need to have, it's good to have a structure, but don't make it scripted, because people don't like scripted. They want organic, natural, authentic conversations, just like you have on a daily basis with people around you. This is what people want to see and hear.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree.
Awesome. Thank you for the kind word. I appreciate it. Listen, Peilin, I love what you're doing. I love your mission, your story. So much more we can do. Definitely will bring you back for a part 2 in a few months to catch up, to see how your business is doing at the time, especially once you've had your own podcast, to share your experience with the podcasting and all that. We'll do that in the future. But I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your mission, with your smile, with your lessons and all that. Stay safe. Stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. We're definitely going to be talking soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very welcome. Bye-bye.
Such a pleasure.
Bye-bye.